Yeah, I'm here. We're just waiting, and we're broadcast live now. We're broadcast live. We're live. So, joining me today, I'm gonna start it. Dream it, believe it, become it. But Babatunde Ajayi is not here because it's the great debaters. But we're still on the Stamina for Sale page, and yeah, I've got the great man Ambrose Mendy with me. So I'm taken aback. So Ambrose, how are you, sir?
I'm well. I'm well. Sun shone today. Birds are singing. My wife still loves me. It can't be too bad, eh?
Well, Ambrose, you've had a fantastic career, right? And I mean fantastic career. If we look at all of the things that you've done, you've been a football agent, boxing. You were renowned to become like, I think you were the first man to start uh, the advertising on ring canvases in the UK. Am I right?
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
had like, you've had that career, my friend. You've had that career where people, you know, people don't give you your dues and they don't give you your flowers. But you know what I mean, we're giving you your flowers right now because you're on the Great Debaters on the Stamina for Sale channel. But today marks the 31st year anniversary of Nigel Benn's epic win in defense of his WBO championship against Iran the Blade Barkley. Like, talk us through that one, please, Ambrose.
Well, at the time, obviously Nigel was the defending champion. He'd beaten and I can use the word liberally, the great Doug DeWitt, who was the sounding board and the testing board for that close, I suppose, separation between the elites, Hearns, Hagler, Duran, Mugabe, and the likes of Boogaloo, Watts, and fighters deemed as Kirkland Lang used that term, you're my measuring stick.
Yeah.
And that's really what it was. But it was a great era, fantastic era. And it's almost like the icing saying to the current cake, you would never be the same without me. Because that's what it was then. I mean, you look, everybody talks about Ben Watson, Harold Graham. No one talks about Rod Douglas, which is very, very sad. But they came up from a grow bag, an earthbed, of the likes of Billy Knight, of Larry Paul. What if, we can ask ourselves so many times, what if certain results had gone another way, and deservedly they should have done? That gives you an idea of what I was coming up against. I had no peers whatsoever going into sport. Just, I could always rely on Al Hamilton because Al was always angry about something, about something. But he also a good stalwart. Somebody stood up for causes, demanded media access to press conferences, because it used to be like the good guys club. And then people wondered how we never got any blacks who had things that were sustainable. And all along, I knew that the organisation that I was trying to combat thrived in their abject racism. And so it was the same thing from the school playground, as a junior kid to the senior kid to the football, the abuse that was coming on, even the rounders team. We couldn't even get a fair squeeze at that. But the real travesty for me was my best buddy and friend, sadly no longer with us, Laurie Cunningham. Uh, you know, how he was mistreated was unbelievable, and it was because of him that I became an agent.
Oh,
And it was purely by accident,
so, so,
or
so what year
coincidence.
we talking? That's like late 70s, right?
We're talking about late. We're talking about no, we're early 70s onward.
Okay.
Early 70s onwards. I remember watching Bunny Sterling fight Jean Jean-Claude Boutier, I think his name was, French fighter. Wonderful to watch. And I'm watching on black and white and a grainy old television, convinced Bunny Sterling's won. And the sad thing was he lost. He was adjudged to have lost, but he didn't even, it was almost as if he never expected to win. And I started noticing. They say that when you're the holes, the pockets get bigger, and that's when you go. And everything that was fed to it from television. I had an uncle. He wasn't really my uncle, but it's a black thing. Like your dad's got a mate, you keep seeing him all the time. You call him uncle. But he was a wrestler. His name was Masambula. I don't know if you're probably too young, Spence. His name was Masambula, and he used to do this little dance and headbutt people. There was a couple more, Honey Boy Simba, Johnny Kwanga. They were being pumped into our homes with just 2 channels on television. So you had to argue with your parents for
ITV World of
rights. And they had the decision. ITV. Say it again, Spence.
4 o'clock, ITV World of Sport on a Saturday.
I think I've lost. Be careful, I'll get you to hum the tune in a minute. And then we'll know. Yes, but it's true. That's which went into the forest, which had every household that was doing the then equivalent of today's lottery, I suppose, doing the football pools, hope to get 8 draws. I always remember we did our household, and conversation for another time, but my parents did actually win the pools. Not a lot of money, but it was just bragging rights. We won, just like saying you won the lottery, I suppose. But anyway, this was all the focus on sport. And whatever way you looked at it, black representation in sport was just almost non-existent. Just almost non-existent. And yet, on the streets, every black kid was playing football. There was more blacks playing football than there was cricket. And that says something. But there was glass ceilings and thick walls. And quite simply, other fences we wouldn't even fences. I'll tell you, I used to go to Hackney Marshes Monday morning, and was higher. Just make up a name and play a game. I knew I had that all-important, dirty, filthy lucre. They had that money so they could go and buy their kids hot dogs. Excuse me, yeah, I used to eat hot dogs once upon a time. But what was there? There was for us, it was just the togetherness. I'm a Hackney boy. I'm as African as groundnuts and as Cockney as jelly deals. Believe you me, growing up, we'd play over Hackney down, scoring with if you got 6 or 8 passes strung together. But I looked at these when I left school. I went to West Ham. They had Clive Charles, John Charles, who was affectionately known as Johnny the One, Eddie Coker. It was, and of course, Clyde Best. Found representation. The best in the top, those West Ham lads that I just referred to. But then it couldn't rely on stats. You want to learn some statistics, go to the library. Go to the library, a book out, and start swatting up and everything else so you can go in school next day with some bragging rights. And, I accumulated all this. I was always one to organise games between one street and the other street. or whatever. Every day had the potential to be a cup final. But you know, it doesn't work out that way. You say something and people believe you. You know, it's like, who was, and I'll ask the questions, you know, who was the first black player to play for England? And everybody says, oh, you know, Viv Anderson. Viv Anderson, yes. Yeah. No, actually, in the famous Matthews final, I think in 1953, there's a black South African, Bill Perry, who not only did he score the winning goal in the most famous FA Cup final ever, he played for England twice against Spain, the other teams. This is incredible. You know, he went to his grave a couple of years ago. Not even acknowledged. Nothing to boast to show his kids. You know, what price and sports memorabilia, that cap. But this is what it was. Everybody wanted to hide things. You know from your own experience, they'll do their utmost to ensure that you are not hurt. I think I always was verbose. I always had an opinion, so others mistakenly called it a big mouth. But in those times, I suffer a big mouth as long as it got me out in. So I was primed, as you know, Spence, we're friends. I was a dad from a very early age. Smacking on 50. And a great buddy, great mate, just like all my kids are. Makes it easy to get on. And they're constant reminders to me of the changes that have actually taken place. But this conversation about people I've represented, it's the ones that I've advised and given counsel to that are the ones that I really think long and hard about. Nobody ever mentions the fact I brought down Lewis here. John Horn or where everything else, etc., etc., is supposed to be a part of a big plan. And this subject we're talking about today, versus Bar, only came about because Nigel had a catastrophic defeat against Michael Watson, as well you know. And in the chain of events that followed, I don't know what people normally go into the losing changing room. We left in success and everything. You're in stunned belief, disbelief. And when Nigel lost to Michael Watson, he was out of the ring. Obviously, we were in a park, Finsbury Park, so we had these big Winnebago caravanette things. And
sorry, they're saying that we're getting a bit of feedback from you. Ambrose?
The ring. You're getting feedback.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of feedback, but please continue.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here, mate.
Hello.
Yeah, continue, Am.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
Let me just. Right. Yeah, so I'm trying to remember where I was at. Oh yeah, how the Barkley fight came about. Nigel had lost, catastrophic loss, to Michael Watson in a fight that was then and remains now the only Commonwealth Championship fight to be beamed live, coast to coast in the United States.
Incredible.
The carrier was NBC. I'm trying to think what the name of the color commentator or lead commentator was Kevin Minor, and Nigel fled the ring and obviously went back into the Winnebago. You know, it's all gone. You know, the gold, the cars. And can I swear on here, by the way?
Yeah, of course you can, mate.
Hello?
Yeah, of course you can.
Sven?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You know, so it's all over. It's all gone. It's all gone. You know, what we're gonna do. I said, oh fuck me, it's we now. I haven't learned we, the plural, for 2 weeks. All I've been listening to is I, thee, thine, thou, my, me, and mine. First person singular. You know, where you been? And it was like, what we're gonna do? What we're gonna do? I said, listen, do you still believe you can be world middleweight champion? And he looked up at me. Anybody that's ever been close to Nigel will tell you, he has a stare that is unnerving, to put things mildly. And he went, of course I fucking can. I said, well, get up off your ass. We're going back in the ring. And we went back in the ring. We did whole ring entrance, achievers. But, I don't want to get overly biblical, but it was like a resurrection. That which was an accumulation of years and years and years of observation and understanding on my part what was wrong with boxing. There was no consolation. When you lost, you lost. And don't talk about another fight. Just go home, sleep it off or whatever, etc. So what I was doing was reintroducing Nigel to his public, reacquainting Nigel with the fans, and they could see him. He was up, alive. We went to the after party. It was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. And I said to him, Monday we're going to Jamaica, and we're going to where I think, did we go to? Yeah, it was, of course, Monday, Jamaica. And coincidentally there was an IBF annual conference there, and some strange things happened. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
Yes, some strange things happened. Yeah, and we were in a bar. We'd gone out there with our wives, my brother Louis and his missus, and a couple of other people. And that, on this ensemble, one of the key representatives, organisers, was the late and sorely lamented John Robinson, who was the founder of the WBU and, of course, launched IBF Europe, when nobody believed it was possible that you could build up an organisation to counter the WBA and WBC and more importantly, since the British Boxing Board of Control, who, when I was with Frank Warren, which is a whole nother story, I wouldn't say they loved me, but they suffer me every day of the week. And when I went on my own, that's something that's inside people that threatens to eradicate everything good within, meaning the soul. Those people, well, let's not talk about them at this moment because they're a tale to come with later on. So we'll see. But no, going back to what I was saying, we're now out in Jamaica. Overheard Mickey Duff. For those of you who don't know who Mickey Duff is, he was a Bengali who monopolized, leading a quartet of people who controlled boxing, every aspect of boxing. He wanted to be involved in amateur boxing. They still wanted to open their mouths because that's where the fighters came from generally, not today. You wanted to become a professional, it would be at their say so. Either they wanted you and they got you, or they couldn't. They never had any real measure for your abilities. And so I suppose, jumping all over the place here, when I came along, I just ran a straight line. My dad used to tell me, forget the left turns and the right turns, just keep going in the straight line, because eventually that's where you're going to be forced to walk or run. And generally it was true. But I couldn't take a no when I knew a yes was more appropriate. And when we were out listening to Mickey Duff, he was talking to Don King, and they were talking about the fight which had taken place just a few days before, about 4 or 5 days before actually. And he said, yeah, all it. He swallowed. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
What they said,
There it was, and it was being said. And I wondered at the
we've just lost Ambrose Mendy. Hopefully he can jump back in. I'll send over Ambrose's number to Gary and see, because I don't know what's happened there. But Ambrose was going in on the stories there. I'm going to send this into the link right now. These things happen. Bear with us. Please, bear with us. No. But what we wanted to really talk about was, which we were going to get onto, was Nigel Benn's amazing victory. And it was an amazing victory over Iron Barkley, because Iron Barkley previously just lost to Michael Nunn in 89. How you doing, Nick? Pray everything's good your end. He lost to Michael Nunn, and then fight before then, he boxes Roberto Duran. I think that was like February of 89, which was, that was fight of the year. An incredible fight. Iron Barkley was very, very unfortunate to lose that decision to Duran. But then the fight before then, yeah, for real, Tundi, thank you very much. I'm going to tell Ambrose to move somewhere else because it's bad connection, but I'm going to phone him. Is he back? I think Ambrose is back. Ambrose.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. I think you need to leave from your library where you are. You're just shying off, and maybe go in your kitchen. Tundi's saying, go into your kitchen, because
typical African, from one African to another, Tundi. What can I say? Huh?
Yeah, but we're not. No, the reception isn't that good, mate. You're in the basement, ain't you? Well, you're in the basement.
No, I'm in the street.
In the where?
Right, 1 second.
Ambrose has got some big, massive house, bro. Trust me. I need some of that Ambrose Mendy money.
I nearly blurted something out then about somebody who owes me money, and has done for a long time. But we'll talk about that some other day when we're up. We've climbed the mountain. Yeah. So
yeah.
Is this better?
Yeah, it sounds better on my end, didn't it?
Yeah. So yeah.
Speaking about John Robertson, the WBU. No, Tundi's not on. Tundi's actually in the comments.
Okay. Yeah. So we bumped into John Robinson when we were out there, and he arranged for me to speak to 1 or 2 people. But meanwhile, I was going to go in and listen to the conference, where one of the things that they were debating was whether or not fights should be changed from 15 rounds to 12 rounds. So I thought, well, I'll listen in on this. And unbelievably, Mickey Duff got up onto the platform and started spouting out some crap, all the years of his experiences, it served well. And anyway, I wasn't really interested in that. I walked up to the stage to ask, I'd like to speak. And he looked down at me and said, he is not a license holder. He's not this, that, and the other, and da. I couldn't believe it, but I had good backup. I was there with my brother Louis, so I knew whatever was happening was happening. We wouldn't have a problem. And then this character, who was then president of the British Boxing Board of Control, with no jurisdiction in blessed Jamaica, said, you know, we'll sort you out when you get back to London. I said, and I'm going to quote verbatim what I said. I said, listen, let me tell you something, shall I? You're in true blue nigger country, and for the price of a packet of cigarettes, you never came here. And for the price of another packet, you won't be fucking leaving. Let me tell you this. He was aghast. No one's ever spoken to him like that in his life. And then a miracle happened. John Robinson arranged for me to get up on the podium and deliver the oratory of dissatisfaction. And I pointed out to people, and they never realised. I mean, people accept it today. The British Boxing Board of Control, when it was set up, was designed to deliberately, and deliberately is a word, foil the progress chart of black fighters. The actual wording, they should be brave enough to come out with it today and say, you know, it was a long time ago, we've all moved on, etc. You know, the normal shit what you hear from people. But I knew now we were for real. And I pointed out to them that I am the face of black boxing in the United Kingdom. There is nobody else. You know, for what they might want to do, there's no training programs that accelerate the path to blacks gaining or getting gainful employment within boxing, because there certainly was plenty of room. But you know, it was good to hear ringing applause, and I determined what I was going to do. And as I came off the stage, I bumped into Vic Andretti and introduced him to Nigel. I'd known Vic for 20 years, 25 years, former British lightweight champion, and now we'd call junior welter. And he said, "Oh, I watched the fight the other day, it was fantastic. It was fantastic. You know, if he just..." And it was a good critic. When Nigel came over, I introduced him. I said, "Look," and they got on like two clowns, like two of the Three Stooges, and they hit it off straight away. You know, Vic said, Nigel said to him, like, you know, "You come out here often?" No, I live in Miami. I explained to Nigel what Vic had achieved as a boxer. They got it. It was fantastic. Nigel was fantastic with Brian Lynch, don't get me wrong. But Nigel, when we were going out to Jamaica, was determined to come back to England ASAP, only when he's got a title. So fortune favours the brave. I said, why don't you get together? Go out. You know, Vic's got apartments in Miami. And they did. I went out, took Nigel out. We came back to England very quickly, went back out, got him an apartment, got him properly settled and everything else. And I came back to England and to set about, you know, the next stage of his career. And what had happened whilst we were in Miami, as well as bumping into Don King, who was, and there's always been a good guy with me, you know, his line, Ambrose, "You're black, I'm black. Let's do some black business." All over the United States, they were saying that anyway. So, you know, it wasn't strange to my ears. I met up with Bob Arum, and I'd known Bob certainly for longer than I'd known Don King. But his attitude was, "Look, I'll give you a 3-fight deal, and the 4th fight will be a world title fight. Don't ask me who it's against or whatever, but the moment we agree, I'll be working for it." And that was news and music to Nigel's ears. And that, of course, is what mattered, what Nigel thought, not what I thought. And the coincidence was, on the day we signed the agreement in New York, coming in the office at the same time was Doug DeWitt. So there was that speaking relationship. You know, he'd recently fought one of the Hilton brothers, who was the
Matthew
WBO
Hilton.
world
Yeah, he
middleweight
beat
champion.
Matthew Hilton for the title, and then he defended it against Robbie Sims.
Yeah, who of
Yeah,
course Nigel was to go on
Nigel did, yeah.
to knock out at York Hall. What a story that was. But they were nice and settled. The fight was set, and this was about. I had a 3-fight or 3-date contract with ITV for Nigel Benn fights, and that for super money as well. So that was in place. Life's experiences were just all rolling on. And that conversation for another time. Of course, Nigel beats Doug DeWitt against all the opinions of the British media, who were friendly, but they for some reason couldn't see what we saw. Nigel won, came back here. He was going to fight Roberto Duran. For those of you who don't know, I suggest you go and
The border
do a bit
control
of
stuff.
research.
I remember when it was announced,
And
it was on Midweek Sports Special, right? It was on Midweek Sports Special.
Nigel announced it himself. It was asked by, was it Steve Ryder? I think it was. And so Nigel, what next? Nigel gave that cheeky grin, that cheeky smile. Is there something you can tell us? Yeah, there is. Duran, Old Trafford. Next. Are you revealing that to us, Nigel? Yes, I am. And so it was a bit embarrassing for him when the fight fell out over 12 days. And anyone who knows me will know this. I never throw a document away. I've never been guilty of doing that. And so I've kept all this correspondence. It was, stoic. Is that the right word to use? Obdurate. The British Boxing Board of Control were having none of it. So I went to see Margaret Thatcher at number 10.
So why weren't the British border control not having it? Was it the fact that Duran was 38 at the time?
It was because Ambrose Mendy was up against us again, and we're not going to let him win. Plain and simple. We are not going to let him win. As I said earlier on, when I was with Frank Warren, boy wonder. Commercial aspects of being addressed. We're getting real sponsors in, not last minute jokes. We're getting real penetration in as far as awareness of the new boxing was concerned. And I listen, I gave the board members, some of them were good guys, but they're only good because they impart to me little bits of snippets of information. I needed a bit more than snippets of information. I needed support. And there was nobody around me that had enough experience. The only person who could do anything that might benefit me, because he was a voice that could be heard within the board, although he was anti-board himself, and that was John Conte. And I'd say again, for listeners who don't know who John Conte is, you do very well to go out and get in the quiet corner and YouTube some of his fights. An amazing person who, at the end of the day, said, "Fuck you. If I can't get one of my brothers to represent me, I'm definitely not having one of you guys. I'd rather quit the game." And at the extraordinarily young age, he knocked it on the head. He's today one of the most successful after dinner speakers that there is, and raised wonderful children to a very, very high standard of education and ability, medical profession, golf. Fantastic. And he's still married to the charming lady that he proposed to, 40 odd years ago. Yes, so just meandering off a little bit, coming back to the fact that the British Boxing Board of Control refused to recognise the WBO. even though the WBO was recognised in every country across the face of the earth, the British Boxing Board of Control decided it's not for them. And did it hurt? Did it impact? Yeah, it was Roberto Duran. It was $2.5 million guaranteed. And I brought Roberto Duran to England during a period when Nigel was banned because, and I don't think people are aware of this, when Nigel Benn decided he didn't want to be managed by Frank Warren anymore for whatever reason, he asked me, would I manage it? It was a headache, to put things mildly, because I was going to have to go into the British legal system, spend, even at the beginning, tens of thousands of pounds in the case that there was no precedent for me to win. But when we did, and all Nigel needed to do was to keep winning in the ring. The loss to Michael Watson was an opportunity for people to get on their uppers and laugh and everything else. The spontaneous action of getting up and going out to another country, another environment, and then resettling Nigel. All of this was pioneering. All of it was pioneering. And although you could see some little instances, the late, great Terry Downs, who became William Hill bookmakers, I'm sure you're familiar with that story. He, would always give some encouragement. It wasn't like, he was one of the brothers or whatever, but he always gave encouragement. Don't give up, don't give. I was never giving up. Anyway, so Nigel wins. He beats Doug DeWitt. We come back to England. Unbelievable welcome. And straight away started to negotiate Nigel's next fight. So we were trying to get a fight with with Roberto Duran. They weren't having it. So we decided to go down another avenue and look at the possibilities of fighting Iran Barkley.
Well, wait, just to jump in there.
Strange story.
Before that, I remember just on Nigel Benn's comeback, weren't you offered $5 million to fight the IBF champion, Michael Second to none? And you turned it down and said, well, absolutely. I want a title that's worth $10 million. I remember the story in the newspapers.
Yeah. And in saying it was, I will say this about Nigel. Nigel, they say man is motivated by fear and or greed. Nigel, 100% was, let me just, right, can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you, mate.
Yeah, because I was holding the phone. That's better. Yeah.
All right.
Man is motivated by fear and or greed. And with Nigel, he juxtaposed between fear and greed. The thing that haunted him and terrified him was that he would end up in life with no money. We all have our insecurities, but I found somebody who was good for me and who I was good for. And I made instant decisions and lived by those decisions. I've always had a legion of friends, tried and trusted, all off the streets of Hackney or Mile End, who would never be slow to remind me of where this all started. And in this instance, it was, Nigel said, and he meant it, he didn't have fortunes, but he'd been earning very, very, very good money, particularly by British standards. Not Leonard Hagler and Hearn's money, because that was the next step up. And we went out one night. I went back to England. Nigel went to the apartment in Miami. And when the training started, oh no, Nigel went. I went back to England. Nigel went to Miami, and then we came back to do a press conference. Not, and the press conference was supposed to be about announcing Nigel's next opponent. Anyway, we're in his apartment. The phone rings. I answer the phone. We used to mug each other off. Go on, answer the phone. Who's the boy in here? Silly things, I know, but it was amusing. Anyway, I answered the phone. Familiar voice asked, hey man, is that you, Nigel? Anyway, cut long story short, it was Mike Tyson. And my Mike Tyson impersonations are worse than yours, Spence. I better keep them to one. So he said, hey, come hang with me. We're going out some place, I can't remember anywhere. I said, yeah, sure. What's the address? He said, ask your guy on the front desk downstairs. I'll see you there. So I put the phone down, went into to my bedroom, got changed and everything else. And he said, where are you going? I said, I've just been on the phone to Mike Tyson. He wants us to go out. He said, fuck, they're us. He wants me to go out. That's what you're trying to say. I said, are you joking? He went, no, come, let's do it anyway. So, of course, it was about 7:30 when he rang. So this is about 9 o'clock now. We get dressed up, go downstairs, get this stretch limo, the longest one that they had. And we give the guy the address. He said, you know this place? I said, no, that's why we're in the car with you. He said, man, this ain't a place for strangers to be going. So I said, well, first of all, we're not strangers. You get all that defensive shit. We're talking with our little puny English accents. And although the girls seem to love it. So he said, listen, man, I'm driving you to this place. When we get there, go out. But I said, no, we need you to pick us up after. He said, I ain't picking you up nowhere. I'll take you. So I thought, we're in fucking trouble here. So we get to the place. There's a massive queue, a queue on top of a queue. So I said to Nigel, listen, leave this talking to me. Don't fucking talk. Don't say, because his voice is so squeaky, it's unreal. Anyway, so we're at the front of the queue. It was almost like that Gene Wilder and the Richard Pryor war. We bad. And we get to the front of the queue. And so this bounce, I'm trying to get the bouncer's eye. And he won't look at me. And then suddenly, worse nightmares, the guy who was at the front of the queue said, hey man, what's all this shit? We get to the back of the queue. I don't do queues. The last time I did a queue was in the fucking food queue at school for school dinners, and that's a long time ago. So I was ignoring him. I knew I shouldn't engage in conversation with him, otherwise we're fucked. And we didn't even know where we were. Anyway, it shows there's a God, because I said, listen, we're with Mike Tyson. He said, who the fuck Mike Tyson? In other words, this is my door, not Mike Tyson's door. I swear to you, Spencer, the door opened and Mike Tyson come out. He see Nigel and he went, Nigel, man. Oh, this, where you guys been, man? So I said, well, we were coming in, but this guy seems not to know who you are, He said, what do you mean? I said, we told him who you was. He said, like, fuck my Spence. He turned around, hooked him into the chest. The guy was dead on the floor. It was hyperventilated. I couldn't believe it. Do you know what I did? I stepped over him and went in the club. As I got in the door, the first person I saw was Heavy D. It was just, and you just knew this is going to be anyway, cut long story short, whilst we were in there, conversation got around to boxing. So Tyson knew all about the Watson fight. His best friend was Roberto Duran. So when I brought Roberto Duran to England, and he was regaling him all the tales of when he come over here, and and Frank Bruno was a little kid, and this, that, and the other. It was really wonderful to hear. And except for Ray Rolex, Ray tried to give him that, yo man, And he said, listen, man, all this shit happened to me in my life. White people done it. this and in fact, you know what? Get the fuck out of here. You know when people switch, and Ray's looking to Nigel and myself, thinking like we're gonna help him out and everything. I was like, fucking every man for himself. I come through that door on my own. Anyway, so we go back. They start talking. So Mike asked Nigel, so who next? Who are you fighting? So Nigel said, well, you know, there's been talk about fights, everything from, you know, Tommy Earns. I'll fight anybody. You know, that's me. You know, so he said to him, you know, why did you ask? He said, because whatever you do, don't fight Ryan Barkley. That's one bad motherfucker. You know, that guy run the streets of Brownsville. Listen, he don't know when he's beat. If he was a heavyweight, I wouldn't fight him. You know, and of course, everyone was laughing. Anyway, about an hour later, because I wasn't into, you know, the treats what people were giving themselves, you can imagine what that is. I asked them to get one of these drivers, because these music people had limos, what they brought there. And so I said, listen, I've got to go back because I've got to see Bob Arum for early breakfast, and he's going to tell us what the options are. So I left, went there, got up the next morning, went to Bob's office and sat down. We had breakfast and everything else. So he wasn't playing any 5-card tricks with me. So I said to him, so Bob, what about the opponents? What's your thing? He said, I've got the perfect opponent, Ambrose. The perfect opponent. Iran Barkley. So I thought, you know, yeah. Oh, yeah, I am perfect opponent. Anyway, I went and got something to eat or whatever. When I come back, Nigel's awake. Have you seen Bob Arum? I said, yeah. He said, what's he say about an opponent? I said, well, he said he's got the perfect opponent. He said, yeah, who is it? I said, Iran Barkley. He went, what? I said, Iran Barkley. He said, you know, Mike Tyson said, I said, fuck Mike Tyson. What does Mike Tyson know about middleweight boxing? He's a fucking heavyweight, for fuck's sake. Anyway, what, you scared? He went, as it happens, I am. But that's what I need. And that was his character. That was his character. Anyway, of course, we announced it to the press, and the next fucking thing you know, the British Boxing Board of Control say they don't want anything to do with Iran Barkley. There's no chance, because we were going to go at Old Trafford.
Because he had a detached retina, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a detached retina, and everything was working. Yeah. You know, everything was working on point. We had things so detailed. All everybody had to do was to follow their line. No one could infiltrate. You know, we then set about doing everything that needed to be done. And the one thing, we went back for a press conference when it was decided the fight was going to be in America, because the British Boxing Board of Control wouldn't sanction it here. So come the loads of Geordies who came in from California, we had such a great voice to be heard. And we come to the press conference, and I was trying to get Eric Guy to get little bits of information and whatever, and da. That's another story. But come the press conference, Iran Barkley gets up, and you know they want him to speak. He's a challenger. Bob Arum spoke first, and Iran Barkley, and he said, "This, you know, you're a piece of shit, man. And I heard the money you're getting. You shouldn't be taking that money out of here. You don't deserve it. Who have you beaten? Who have you fought? Who have you done this, that, and the other?" But we'd already prepped Nigel, and what's more, Nigel was a big fan of Iran Barkley, understandably as well, because of the aggressive way they fight. And he's Spence.
I'm here, mate.
Say that again.
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So I was saying, so we're at the press conference. He gets up, you punk. You know, you're this, that, and the other. But we'd already prepped Nigel. Don't buy. Whatever you do, don't buy. He went, no, I won't. Anyway, they said, and now to introduce the WBO champion of the world, middleweight champion of the world, Nigel Benn. So Nigel got up and he said, I'd just like to say this. I'm a kid who comes off the streets of East London in England. And all the people in the gyms there say that, you know, you're fighting the man. You know, you're fighting Iron Barkley. Iron Barkley's the man. And in my gym in 5th Street in Miami, Bojack and all the great fighters, everybody tells me Barkley's the man, Iran's the man. And even in Johnny Tocco's gym in Las Vegas, people say the same thing. Iran's the man. And I've got to say this, Iran, you are the man. And even if I don't win, at least I know I fought the best, I fought the man. And Barkley got up and gave Nigel the most enveloping hug imaginable. So Nigel's looking at me over his shoulder and I'm putting my thumb up because we got him. Because I'd asked Bob Arum one question when he proposed. It was Barkley. I said, what is his weakness? What weaknesses does he have? He said, Ambrose, this guy ain't got no weaknesses. He always got the short end of the stick. He's got no weaknesses at all. So I thought, fucking hell. You know, and now go over, talk to the British press, all of whom predicted Nigel would lose. All of them. And I never did hold it against them because of that. It was their lack of experience. But anyway, so what happens? We all know, go and watch the film. If you're a listener, go and watch it. The footage is fantastic. I own it. I wish I was getting paid every time somebody, every time someone scrolled down or downloaded it. But there we go. That's one of those things. On the night itself, I bumped into Mickey Duff. And, you know, we have to use the term liberally, but we're all Brits abroad. So I thought, even though the guy don't like me, I don't like him, that's for sure. And in a contest of good looks, I win every day of the week. So I said, who you got? He went, oh, Barkley are doing, you know, looking at the floor. I said, Mick, I know you like a gamble, but why don't you go and have a bet? Just a little $5,000 or something, that Nigel wins. He said, what? I'll be giving money away. I said, okay. He said, have you had a bet yourself? I said, yeah, of course I have. I hadn't, but I fucking soon did. I ran down to the thing and put $5,000. And the $5,000 was 12-1, knockout in the first round, either way. You know, you could pick them. And so, of course, that's the reason why when you watch the ending of the fight, I'm leaping about fucking 5 foot off the floor.
Yeah, you trying to pick up Nigel, yeah, you go nuts. It was a terrific fight. We talk about the fight.
Amazing.
Nigel come out as a middleweight, come out straight away for a big right hand.
What had happened? Vic had worked this little move out. What I nicknamed the John Barnes shuffle, where John would feint to the left and then go with the right. So Vic had been practicing this and practicing it and practicing it. Anyway, come the fight, you'll see if you look out for this, they say seconds out, and then there's a lengthy delay, you know, while everyone's waiting. And Nigel had this rhythm bouncing from one foot to the other. I'd never seen him do it before, never. And at that moment, I thought, this guy could beat anybody in the world. By the way, we scrapped the British national anthem and got this guy from Brown's pub club in Oxton who followed Nigel everywhere. His dream was to sing in Las Vegas. So we said to him, you can sing Land of Open Glory. He murdered it. I was trying to keep a straight face when it was being sung. And oh my goodness. It is. But now, so Nigel's hopping from one foot to the other foot. And then suddenly the belt, oh no, Gary Newborn, who obviously was there with ITV, was waving at me frantically when we went to get out of the ring when they said seconds out. He said, Ambrose, it's a delay with London. It was about 17 seconds. And so Vic's gone to, I said to Vic, it's going to be a delay. He said, how long's the delay? I said, about, I don't know, 15 seconds, 12 seconds now. He went, out in a delay. He's gone, anyway, he's looked up, he's gone, Nigel. So Nigel's gone, he's got a gum shield in. He's gone, Nigel, can you hear me? Nod your head. So Nigel's gone, yeah. He said, you know that move that we were practicing and this, that, and the other? So Nigel went, yeah, I know. He went, fuck that, killed his gun. This is where it gets you. It's just absolutely unbelievable. And I don't have to tell you what happened. 8 seconds later, Barkley's sitting on the bottom strand, thinking, "What is this?" Anyway, so the fight goes on. Iron Barkley was managed by a guy called Ryan O'Neill, who was the father of Tatum O'Neill's Hollywood Oscar winner, and this, that, and the other. And they had Tom Selleck, Tom Hanks, that was there. It was unbelievable. And all we had was Engelbert Humperdinck, who was working in the Slipper Club somewhere on the strip.
He came back with Nigel, because I remember he came back with Nigel.
Yeah, he took my mother-in-law out on her birthday, and then came and he was appearing at a theatre somewhere in Victoria, and he came on over and serenaded her, and we were sitting in mega seats. Anyway, I forgot to tell you, by the way, the board of control had said that they're not recognising Nigel as a world champion, and they're not recognising me with status. And yet I got licensed in Miami and in New York, and I've been licensed in Las Vegas already. This wasn't the first time I'd been there. Anyway, so now we're desperate to kill time. The fight's all over in the first round. Everybody expected it to go 4 or 5 ferocious rounds anyway, but nobody expected it to end in the way that it did. So 2 things happened. The first thing was when Gary Newbond said, Ambrose, we need to kill some time. What not when Nigel's running around the ring like a demented hyena. We've got to kill some time. So we already had a little move planned. So Nigel said, oh, by the way, before we go, there's something that I've got to say. Anyway, he's got this thing out. He's gone, this is my license, and this is what I think of the board. If you ain't having Ambrose, I ain't having you. And ripped it and then threw it on the floor. The ring was crowded. The first thing the board did when Nigel got back to England was to charge him with bringing the sport into disrepute. And they were heavily reliant on the bit of footage that showed him ripping it up. They actually filmed it and produced it as evidence in this kamikaze kangaroo call. And so because of this, they were just about to start announcing that they're going to ban him and everything else. And I said to him, here's Nigel's license. And they went, what? Oh, by the way, they tried to ban me from the room, from going in there, but we'd already been for a court case. I won't bore you, which authorised Nigel to appoint me as his manager, as opposed to Frank Warren. It's Warren versus Mendy. It's a very famous court case. And, in saying it, it's 31 years ago to this very day. The only difference is although it's, here it's dark outside, with the fight in Las Vegas, it took place at 2:00 in the afternoon, so as we could sync in with British time. This wasn't unfamiliar to me, but as we went out, we bumped into 2 guys who'd been staring at us through the press conference, and it's obvious that they were big noises out there. They were actually Siegfried and Roy. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah. The
Yeah,
lion tamers.
yeah. They made an elephant disappear in front of me. As short, my face was as near to the elephant as I am to this smartphone. I can't, even to this day, I can't believe it. I touched it first of all, and its arse was like corrugated. And I thought, now I'm just going to keep my eyes open. Some little mirror will flick somewhere, and the elephant disappeared. It's unbelievable. One story which sums up Ben Barkley for me was we were all in the press conference. We'd had a bit of a melee around the ring because they said that Nigel punched him when he was on the floor, and I couldn't stop myself. I said,
He done that twice,
huh?
He done it twice.
Done what?
Carlos Padilla, who refereed the Thriller Manila, who was a
Yeah.
referee. Carlos Padilla should have taken a point from Nigel Benn. He should have disqualified him, but he should have taken it would have made no difference anyway, because Nigel still comes
He
out.
said,
Yeah.
at the Spence, let me say this. At the press conference, no, in the changing room beforehand, no, at the press conference, they said, this is war. Bob Arum's closing statement was, you two guys wanted war, you're going to have war. When Padilla came into the change room, he said, listen, you said you want a war. I'm not going to stop you having a war. Defend yourself at all times. Remember, you called it. You wanted a war. So, you know, it was hyped up to go the way that it did. And of course, many people say that it's the fourth round of Hagler Hearns. And to be there. All right, but now let me get to this inimitable guy. We're all waiting in the press room. It's massive. There are maybe 250, 300 people in there. And and we're waiting for Barkley to come in. He had to go to have a medical or whatever. And as we're waiting, you run out of hands to wave out. All the British have invaded the front seats, the British press. And suddenly the back door opens. A double door leading you into this huge room. And it's Don King. Hair spikier than ever. He looked fatter than ever. And it's, hallelujah, man. Hallelujah. Nigel Benn. My new Marvin Hagler. And Colin Hart stood up and he said, Don, your new Marvin Hagler. He said, my new Marvin Hagler is the baddest fighter. Da. Anyway, so Colin said, but Don, yesterday you were saying this about Iran. He said, yesterday I was lying. Today I'm telling the truth. He never even broke stride. He just walked all and the fight was fuck all to do with him. He was involved no way whatsoever, not even an undercard fighter. And of course he was at his peak then. But yeah, I'll leave boxing, no doubt, because he's so aged now, Don King. And there should be a degree thesis in Don King, believe me. One of my regrets is that I never actually worked with him. And I think in bargains, you only get what you bargain. And whilst I've never seen any of his supposed sleight of hand up front, many of the things that are standards in boxing today, he created.
100.
And he could never have made the mess that we've seen happen with this Tyson Fury and proposed Anthony Joshua fight. The mess of Deontay Wilder. Other than Harold Smith, who he longed it out with because he was getting more and more and more and more and more money. Harold, go and get some more money. He come back with money. Go and get some more. He come back with some more. It's the game that not just enamors us to it, Spence. It's a game that we can't live without, and we can't learn to live any other way than by devious methods. 1 minute you're happy, you're a great lad. Next minute, you're the laughing stock. You know, boxing's now about to change and change in a significant way. We're going to see a rise in female boxing, massive rise in female boxing.
It started already, my friend. It started already, and it's a good thing. Especially what was her name? Lauren Price winning the gold.
Yeah.
It was excellent. Absolutely excellent. You know what I mean? I did bits for GMTV. I did bits for Sky News as well about her. I think she's going to be an absolute superstar.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more.
Very talented girl. You know what I mean? The gold medalist at the Commonwealth. She's been she's, you know what I mean, gone to the Olympics, won the gold medal. She's, you know what I mean, represented her country in football. She's a former world kickboxing champion. She's a very, very multifaceted sports person. And I think, yeah, I wish I know, you know what, I could see a massive fight between her and Clarissa Shields. I said that on TV, and I'm saying it right now as well on something that's important that me and Tundi own, and Gary Blake, the man with the cam. But what I am saying is, the fight that kind of we didn't get to see, like we didn't get to see Nigel Benn versus Harold Graham. A lot of people studiously avoided Harold Graham, openly admitted why they avoided Harold Graham. What do you think would have happened if Nigel Benn would have fought Harold Graham?
Well, as long as I was breathing air, it was never, ever, ever going to happen. Although we agreed in principle for Nigel to fight Harold Graham and signed the contract with Barney Eastwood and Mickey Duff. That the winner that if Nigel won, remember Michael Watson was ranked number, I think there were 3 and 4 in the world, with Michael being slightly ahead. So I always felt that Harold Graham, you know, I was with Frank Warren when Harold Graham fought Jimmy Price, and I couldn't believe it. I
blasted him out in my hand.
You know, Jimmy Price was going to be Jimmy Price. Funny in many ways, was a bit like James DeGale. You know, supremely skilled as an amateur. He'd had a great run of fights. I think he was ABA champion, and Errol Graham got his measure within seconds. Seconds. And when you and Jimmy Price could punch, and when you can punch and you can't hit the guy, you'll know as a fighter. You start to panic. You know, you want to move quickly to plan B or plan C. You do, whereas you're used to doing ordinary things efficiently, you're now starting to think about the extraordinary that needs to be performed. It's what, you know, not that I'm asked a question, but I'll give an answer anyway. I'd love to see training programs for ex-professional fighters. I really would, because right now, you know better than I do, one man and his one-eyed dog can be a cornerman and an agent. So there is nothing to pass down. Nothing. Absolute. And it doesn't make sense. You know, the late, great Phil Martin, he performed he performed absolutely. And, you know, these things, little bits of concern. I remember one day getting a phone call out of the blue from Phil Martin. Ambrose, how are you? Everything okay? Yeah. You know, just I heard that you was up here because obviously I used to manage Paul Ince. And, you know, anything at all, just don't hesitate. You look now, we should be preparing people for the, you know, boxing, physical sports. They announced yesterday they're going to give £234 million more to the Olympic effort going ahead to France, 2004. 2004, 2024.
Yeah.
So it would be great to know that from that we're going to have great trainers, great training facilities, because right now it's a select few that are gathered together. You know, Robert McCracken, you've got to give it to him, has done a hell of a job.
Of course,
But
yeah.
you give me all them resources, I'll make an indent as well.
Yeah,
So
and we have to give a props to Audley Harrison. Do you remember when Audley Harrison went on that march? It was him, Tony Cisse, it was all the amateur boys. Dave Walker. They had a march to Downing Street, where this was at a time where there was no funding for the Olympic boxing amateur program, and Audley Harrison was the person that changed that. He changed that. And a lot of people don't give Audley Harrison the dues, because it was after that they started to get Olympic funding. It was after he would vehemently protest letters, everything else, and it was Audley Harrison that actually changed that. And even more so when he went out, was the Sydney Olympics in 2000 and won the gold medal. Audley Harrison changed the whole game. Right? Unfortunately, when people say, well, he didn't do the things that he should have done as a professional, it was a man that became a Commonwealth and a European champion and the world title challenger. So if you look at it like that, he didn't do too badly. But Audley Harrison changed a lot. So we got props to Audley for what he did that changed the spiral. Because prior to that, you had to go to, what was it, like, it was one of the Finnegans, wasn't it? In, was that 68 Olympics? 68 Olympics. Won a gold medal.
Yeah.
So, how many years was that? How many years were we sitting down waiting to try and get? I mean, it's 32 years. So we have to props to Audley Harrison, man. I'm just gonna keep that thing 100. And while we're here, I just got a shout out to everyone who's like Nick Harmer. Thank you very much for commenting. Silver Fox, H Money Boxing. Who else is on there? Nah. You know what I mean? Volt UK, what are you saying? Ask about Fury. I ain't going to ask about the glove gate. I'm not interested in speaking about that. Prince Teddy, you've always been supporting. Prince Teddy says, yeah, big up to Ambrose Mendy. Carl Green, the Dark Destroyer. Yes, there was only one of them, mate. There was only one of them. Bobby Wright, thank you so much for the donation as well, Bobby. You're a good guy, mate. Nash Online. Kieran Hughes, how you doing? Uber Steve. There's too many people on here, man. I'm grateful for the comments. I'm grateful for the insight. Kurt Campbell, my brother. I think, yeah. What's that? Radai says, great guest. Yeah, Ambrose Mendy, incredible. Really good story on, and we've actually gone over the hour, so I'm impressed. Really good story on Nigel Benn, Ambrose Mendy. It's 31 years today that he successfully defended his WBO World Middleweight Championship with an emphatic first round stoppage win, where he floors Barkley, then gets hurt, then floors Barkley again, then floors him again, and then is a 3 knockdown rule, and it gets stopped by the referee Carlos Padilla, and Ambrose Mendy could have most probably broke his back because he's picking up Nigel Benn and running around with him as well.
It's amazing.
It was an incredible time, and Ambrose actually owns the rights to the fight, so we could actually show it, but then we got to go prove it to YouTube, and it's long. But anybody, I'm saying, just go after this here, because we're gonna be jumping off in a few minutes. Go and watch that fight, and go and see like when Nigel Benn was the one that introduced the WBO to the UK.
Yeah. Because
before then they didn't know about it. And it was a lot to do with Ambrose Mendy. And this is what I want to do now is this. I want to ask you this. In 1990, Nigel Benn had 2 world title fights, and then his 3rd world title fight was against Chris Eubank in November of 1990.
Correct.
I just want to know, why did you take that fight? Apart from the million apart from the million that he got, but why? Yeah.
Why did he take the Eubank fight? Because
Yeah.
I've got a piece of paper. I'll show you. We're saying we're going to meet for a coffee. I'll show you the
All right.
offer. $5 million US plus British TV rights to fight Sugar Ray Leonard. So I say to Nigel in the dressing room, listen, Nigel, I wanted to show you this before, but I've got to show you now. This is what it is. Anyway, he looked he went, yeah. I thought, fucking hell, you should be jumping on the rooftops. You're gonna beat Leonard. We all know he ain't the Leonard that we knew.
Yeah.
And you've got an even chance. I think he fought Terry Norris instead then, and then got beat. I can't remember. But
he fought Terry Norris. He fought Terry Norris in February of '91. He fought Terry Norris and gets beat, gets floored twice, loses on points, and that was down at like middleweight.
Yeah, on his insistence, by the way, it was down at like middleweight. Ray Leonard's insistence, but just one of the. So there was that factor, and then there was what was playing on his mind and was never going to go away. I tried. God knows I tried. I just want to fight Eubank. I want to do him first. Everywhere I go, people keep saying this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. I said, Nigel, listen, I know a way you can go where you're going to get $5 million. Who the fuck is interested in anything else? You haven't even got to kill anybody. You can fight Eubank after. No, because I just want to get in there and for me that's got a fight, I thought, fuck me, we're going down that road again. And in parts, some small, some big, Nigel was the greatest company you could possibly wish for. And I'm sure he'd say the same about me, that you can't be everything to everybody all at the same time. But what I realised, the 10 years age difference between he and I, what I realised was that I was going through motions and actions that wouldn't confront him for the next 5, maybe as many as 10 years. That's the fact that his life is now regarded as a success. He's got a son who's standing up. Let's be honest about it. Who honestly thought, and I must say, Nigel at York Hall told me, Ambrose, I've got to introduce you to my son. He's going to be a better fighter than me. And my first reaction was like, you're talking away a lifetime's experience. We all want our kids to be great. He said, I know that's what people think, but believe you me, I know. So I never disregarded what his son could do. Never. And now we're seeing it. The self-same doubts were expressed about Nigel. But we'll see. We'll see. Spence, I'm going to do 90.
Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for every single person for commenting, leaving your likes and all the rest of it. This is going to go up tomorrow or later on today. Gary, our man with the camp, is going to put that up. This is Spencer Fearon. Dream it, believe it, become it. Babatunde Ajayi is in training camp right now for Anthony Yard, who fights on the 28th of this month in Birmingham. And so that's why Tunde's not on it, but it's a great debaters. But I just go grab old timers and want to talk at the game. And I'm very, very grateful to have had Ambrose Mendy, the one and only manager, promoter, football agent. I don't even know a name, a job title that you haven't done. But it's been an absolute plum pleasing pleasure. Thank you so much, Ambrose Mendy. You lot, remember, subscribe to the Stamina for Sale YouTube channel, like and subscribe. Take care. God bless.